So Let's Get Men Talking and the Y Code are separate businesses, but the Y Code was started by my brother. It's sort of in pre-launch phase at the moment, but it's currently a community, a hub of information to inspire confidence within men. He's made me a co-founder of that, which I'm really honored by. And it inspired me to visually link Let's Get Men Talking, which did start off being called Let's Get Mental, and the branding was completely different. And we've brought them together because they work so nicely alongside each other, as we do as brother and sister. So Freddie is basically manages me on a business, well, on Sheridan and Co, because he works doing their kind of marketing and new business development. He's a director there. And he also manages me on something called Focus, which is a garden room company that Sheridan and Co started in lockdown. And because we just seem to love starting businesses. And so yeah, we work. And so we've got this sort of like brother and sister mental health initiative going on. So the Y Code is very much the solution, and how an emotional intelligence and inspiring confidence, and articles that are things that perhaps we should have been taught in schools, but it is targeting men for a few reasons. And if you follow them, then you will see why. But Let's Get Men Talking is my baby, and Let's Get Men Talking I started over 2 years ago as a result of lots of conversations with people, I guess my brother's age group, about they're in a, feeling like the male role was changing. And I think that, the rise of feminism was very needed, and they got that, but they also felt embarrassed, and I guess there was an emotional education that was needed. And I think that people felt like, even though, these are the kindest guys, there is a sense of, there was a big sort of public, this is what men have been doing wrong, and a big focus on that. And I guess some people, some guys in particular that I spoke to, didn't really know who to talk to about that. So I always ended up in these kind of conversations with different people. And it just made me think, if you can't talk about, what it means to be a man, or how to evolve and change, or how to educate yourself on this kind of thing, what else can't you talk about? And as the more conversations I had that transpired, these guys were going through anxiety, depressive, or like just hard life challenges that required emotional intelligence, or sounding board, or someone. And I just felt like, for me, happiness isn't a piece of pie where if women have a bit more, men have less. Like, we can all be happy and work together, but there is a big social change towards inclusivity. At the same time as that's happening, suicide for a while now has been the biggest killer of men between the ages of 20 and 49. So more likely to die at their own hands than of COVID, of cancer, of all this stuff. Them walking out the door and being hit by a bus, whatever it is, they're more likely to choose to take their own life. And that, to me, is not an acceptable thing to ignore. And so Let's Get Men Talking is there to change the narrative surrounding masculinity. Many reports that you read will say that the nature of the expectation of how we talk to, raise, sort of how society views masculinity doesn't lend itself to emotional intelligence. It doesn't lend itself to, and I'm not saying that people aren't intelligent. Please understand that when I say emotional intelligence, I just mean that, big boys don't cry, man up, all these kind of narratives tell men to keep it in. And the more you keep it in, if you don't talk about it as you're growing up, whatever's going on with you, you suppress it. And so I guess Let's Get Men Talking is an enabler to release that. So it's not really me, I try not to give my opinion on there, but I just facilitate other guys who want to support other guys to talk and prevent getting to the point where they might consider suicide.